Hey, everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What's shaking on your Monday night? Hope it's a good one for you. No Monday Night Football. Ha, ha, ha. And no, I don't care who's in the Super Bowl. Does not matter to me in the least. Hey, tonight we're going to tell you about an amazing vehicle. You may have seen a movie about it. It's called the Tucker. Some people say it's called the Tucker Torpedo. Really, the official name is the Tucker 48. We'll get into all of that. But for right now, if you could please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all of those things you can do for absolutely free that can help out our little show, mostly with the algorithm, the almighty, all powerful, all seeing, all knowing algorithm. And then also, we do have super chats. We do have memberships, and we love it when you help us out in that way. Also, if you look at the bottom of the screen, there are people who will gift you a membership. They'll just give you one out of the goodness of their heart. If your gifted memberships are turned on, it tells how in the scroll at the bottom. And then you get that members-only exclusive content like we had this weekend when my StreamYard let me down again. Oh, I know another thing I was going to point out. Discord. Yeah, Discord. There's a Discord that I go to a lot. I can't even get into it right now. Why? Discord just keep opening the application and it starts and then it just closes over and over again. And Discord is like you'll log into it and it'll have to give you 6 updates like every day. Why? And then this last one said that my JavaScript wasn't working. Macintosh hasn't supported JavaScript for like forever. It's not even funny. So anyway, thanks Discord. I'm just every time I say okay, I'll use Discord again, I regret it. Apparently, it's not good with Macintosh computers. Apple, the good ones, you know. So anyway, I guess I won't be in that Discord for a while. So it starts working again. Or not. Who knows? Had a wonderful show last night about Australia Day. It was what I anticipated it would be. That's all I should probably say about it. Tomorrow night we're going to do a show on Get Smart, the legendary TV series written by Mel Brooks. And then on Tuesday, we're going to have a show, Wednesday, we're going to have a show about the vampire fish. I'd tell you the real name of it. That's sort of the nickname of it. This is a fish that swims up your private parts and then deprives you of your lifeblood, which does not sound like much fun to me. It sounds like a real bad time to me personally. I can't speak for anyone else, but we'll cover that on Wednesday. Come on, imagine you're in some tropical locale. They're in warm water, and you're minding your own business, and a fish swims into one of the openings of your private parts and then makes a beeline for your urethra. That's not a female soul singer. That's a part of your body that you would probably prefer to not have a fish draining you of your hemoglobin. And it's even got a big, let's not get into it. It's the most horrifying thing ever. There he is, the one, the only. The wolf is here, says hello, folks. I don't know if anybody's even here. We got some people here. The chat room is relatively dead. But that's okay. I really don't care. I almost didn't do a show today. I'm so tired. But I did. I said, hey, come on. You got to do a show. I could keep going here, but why? Why would I? Let's just get going. I'm not going to vamp anymore. Whoever's here is here, and it's time to get it down to business. This would be the subject of tonight's Tom Gully Show, and that, of course, is the Tucker. Some people call it the Tucker why not? They only made one model, but even that is a little inaccurate, and we'll get to it. Predominantly, people have called it throughout the years the Tucker Torpedo. There's reasons for that too, but the name that it is officially marketed under is called the Tucker 48 is the actual official name. Stan the Man is here. Stanley Cross saying hi to Wolf. People saying hi. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. You can see Stanley over at the Urban Landlord on YouTube. I don't know if there's a new time or not. I'm not privy to such things, but it usually starts at around 2 o'clock in the morning, and it goes until like 8 or 9 or 10 or however long Stanley can stay up, and Stanley can stay up for a long time. You got to watch it. It's a wonderful show. It's a wonderful show. I don't appear on it anymore because, you know, there's a guy up in Alaska that just screams and yells, and it's not worth it. It's just... I made a promise that I was going to do better in 2025, and I just won't do that. Just can't. But other than that, it's an incredible channel. You should check it out. And when that guy shows up, you'll know. Don't worry about it. You'll know. You'll know. Let's see here. Stanley said we'll be back to his regular time in a day or two. Okay, well then just go there and see if he's there. I'm sure he's popping in and out, and you'll enjoy him. You'll enjoy him quite a bit. And, yeah, that dog deserves to win any award just for being owned by that human. That's what I think. But I've talked too long about that. It's time we started talking about the Tucker. And I would open my thing, except for guess what? My thing is already open. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The Wolf says, watch that movie Tucker, but also research Tucker. Loads of fun stuff. Oh, it's fascinating. I'm not going to even scratch the surface. I could do a week and we couldn't cover everything on the Tucker. It's an amazing, amazing story. So anyway, this fella, I'll show you to him again here in a second. This is the fella I'm referring to, and his name is Preston Tucker. And he got the idea to produce this automobile, which was revolutionary in many, many ways. Only 51 of them were made, including the prototype. Before what happened to the company happened, which is another giant injustice of the world. It really is. The company, and the movie portrays this very accurately. The company was, look at that beauty. Look at that beauty. Let's see, still 49 out of 50 made. Well, there's some, only one of them was kind of destroyed. A few, not many, but a few were heavily altered after they were created. Not many, a handful, just a few. But the rest are still in existence in various museums and private ownerships and things of that nature. Let's see, Coach Mike Rodick says, late again, good evening, chat. Oh, hey, Tom. Guess what? Nobody's ever late to the Tom Gully Show, ever. Anyway, the company was forced to declare bankruptcy and cease all operations because of negative publicity from the news media, a Security Exchange Commission investigation, and heavily publicized stock fraud trial, by the way, in which all the allegations were proven baseless. And there was a full acquittal. A lot of people think the big three automakers and others are responsible for that. The original proposed price for this car in 1940 whatever was $1,000. Actual selling price ballooned to $4,000. And the guy who directed Tucker, Francis Ford Coppola, owns one. It's on display at his winery. The torpedo, the thing they refer to as a torpedo, that was actually a prototype. And there were many, many different prototypes and formulations of this vehicle as time went along. it was in development for quite a while. And the reason for that is actually quite understandable and a very good reason. After World War II, everybody wanted a new car. And everybody didn't just want a new car. They wanted a new car with a new style, a new design. Because Detroit didn't do any new development because all of their resources were going toward the war. And that was the opening that smaller companies needed to develop new cars faster than the giant automakers, right? The smaller companies were more nimble. They could get things together faster because they didn't have that huge investment into the war effort. Studebaker was one of these, and I think the Wolf knows. Those were produced in South Bend, Indiana. Do you see many Studebakers around? No, you don't. You know why? They were rust buckets, man. They put them out. They were kind of a new style. They didn't have a running board, and there were some new things about the Studebaker. But Tucker had a vision, okay? He wanted, first and foremost, a safe automobile. And we'll get to all of his safety innovations and inclusions in this vehicle in just a second. But he wanted a water-cooled aluminum block, a flat six rear engine, not a front engine, a rear engine, disc brakes, independent suspension for each wheel, fuel injection, which, they had it, but it wasn't super common back then, and all of the instruments being within easy reach of the steering wheel. So let me see here. Wolf says he's seen two of them. Both were four-wheel drive trucks. Oh, yeah, the Tucker made other things. I'm not going to get into those other things, but Tucker made some other things during the war. That must be worth a fortune. Yeah, Studebaker. Yeah, the Studebaker factory, the plant's still up there in Fort Wayne. When I was in college, one of my best friends, the Wolf knows him, Zimmerman. We went up there many times, and we would sort of, I don't want to say break into the Studebaker plant, but we would go in there at nighttime. It was completely abandoned and wander around and stuff. It was actually pretty cool. And by the way, Zimmerman owned a Studebaker, which was in I'm being charitable here, okay condition. Okay, there were no floorboards in this thing. He had big pieces of plywood on the bottom because it was a rust bucket. Let's see here. People saying hi. The Wolf says, I think it's in a museum now. A lot of them are. By the way, they know exactly where every one of these Tuckers are. It's, documented. Tucker was either the worst con man ever, says Coach Mike Rodick, or the best car designer of his time. I believe the latter. I believe that too. So before the war ended, Preston Tucker started working on plans for a new automobile. He had a vision. And he hired this famous car designer named George Lawson to do the styling. And that guy worked on it for over a year. And they started releasing sort of sketches of these designs. He was named the chief stylist in February of 1946 upon the formation of the Tucker Car Company, right? So in December of 46, when a guy has a vision, a lot of times the people he works with, even if they're brilliant, they have disagreements. And that's what happened with George Lawson. And so he left the company, and another famous stylist named Alex Tremulous of a design firm was hired, and he took that George Lawson design and he pushed it forward. He did more with it. He gave the design firm a 3-month contract, which expired and wasn't renewed. But the culmination of Alex Tremolis's work during that phase of design was in a full-page ad in national newspapers everywhere. People got to see. Now, this isn't it, but it was sort of what they did. This was not the 3-page ad. This was actually from a brochure that they had put out. But this is what they did. They sort of tried to get people's attention, get them excited with this absolutely revolutionary vehicle. So at that point, Tucker hires 5 designers who updated the Alex Tremulin design. But after about a month, Tucker went, you know what, that Tremulous guy, he was really pretty good. So he rehired him, and the 2 design groups, the 5 guys and Tremulous, started making full size clay models side by side in direct competition. And there are some surviving photographs of those 2 models. And Tremulous's clay design remained unchanged from his ad sketch, so to speak. But it wasn't chosen for production. Yeah. And they kept trying to improve it. They hadn't produced any. So they just kept trying to improve the design, improve the design. And that was good in some ways. It was bad in some ways, because people at some point want a finite product that they can purchase. The Wolf says, just think he would have gotten a tank contract. Oh, yeah, he'd have been able to produce whatever car he wanted to. They said there was 15 years of testing. Well, no. Tucker was thinking about it for 15 years, but there was no testing. They named Tremulous the chief stylist, just like they did George Lawson. They initially, as you can see here, named it the Torpedo, but it was changed to Tucker 48 at a certain point, because Tucker didn't want to remind the public about all the terrible stuff that was going on during the war. But people still refer to it as the Torpedo. Alex Tremulous, he referred to it as the Tin Goose, which, they sometimes still refer to it, but in a kind of loving, affectionate way. At the time, it was considered really not very complimentary, okay? Notice the center driving position. Wonder who does that? Wink, wink. I don't know, man. I'm talking about Tucker right now. I can't think about other things. I just spent almost 4 hours with Scott from Australia and Jesse P.S. last night. I'm lucky to be walking upright today. The Tucker, as I mentioned earlier, was a pioneer of safety features. And I mean, they really, Gordon Murray. Okay, I don't know. Pedestrians beware. Well, I don't know, pedestrians beware. He wanted the most advanced engineering and, more importantly, the most advanced safety features. So this thing had a rear engine and a rear-wheel drive, which had been used in other cars, but not extensively. I mean, Volkswagens had a rear engine. One of the big innovations, as you can see here, I'm showing it to you, is that center headlight. Okay, so you had the fixed headlights on the outsides, and the center headlight was a directional headlamp. So anytime you turn the wheel at an angle of greater than 10 degrees, it would light the car's path like around a corner. So not only would you be sort of pointing the front of the car where you were going, that other headlight would lead the way and show you, illuminate where you were turning, not just where you were at. If that makes any sense. And at the time, there were 17 states who, for whatever reason, I can't believe this, but they did. They had laws against the car having more than 2 headlights. I don't know why. So Tucker fabricated a cover for the center light so that they were legal in those states. Had a rear engine, rear-wheel drive, as I mentioned. There was a perimeter frame around the car. Now, many cars at the time just sat on a basic chassis. They didn't have a frame around them. And there was a roll bar integrated into the roof, which was completely unheard of at the time. The steering box was behind the front axle, and it was used to protect the driver in the event of a front-end accident. The instrument panel and all the controls were within easy reach of the steering wheel, and the dashboard was padded for extra safety. Now, I don't know, when I was a kid, even as a child, man, car dashboards, all the knobs were pointed. They were made of steel. You just, if there was an accident, you just kind of hosed it off and sold it to another guy. Yes, the wolf says, I know, Tom, I was there last night. And we all were, man. It was... Rumble Trenchcoat says, still such a great idea for that turning headlight. Yes, people saying hi. And the chef is in the house. He is an actual chef. We're always glad to have him here. So padded dashboard, windshield. Check this out. The windshield was made of shatterproof glass, and it was designed to pop out in a collision to protect the occupants from being just, shredded by broken glass. The parking brake had a separate key. Okay, so you park your car, you put it in the parking brake, and you lock the parking brake to prevent theft. What a great idea. The doors extended into the roof. I think we can see that here. So the door, it's not shorter than the roof, it's into the roof, okay? That made getting in and out of the car easier. But here's the thing. Each of the Tuckers that was built, and this is almost unbelievable, but I still, it's probably the most interesting thing that I learned while I was researching this. Every single one that was built was a little bit different than the previous one that was built, because each one of these cars was basically a prototype where they were trying different features and concepts and improving them or getting rid of them during the production cycle. Now, that's very unusual. As you know, most things that are manufactured, not just cars, they establish how they're going to make it, and then they just boom, 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 repeat. Not the Tucker. They kept going, how can we make it better? Is there something here that we don't need? So the door releases came from the Lincoln Zephyr. The steering columns used in the Tucker were donated by Ford or from the 1941 Lincoln. He held a patent for a collapsible steering column. The glove box, you're used to the glove box being in the front dashboard? The glove box was into the door panels. And it provided more space for what he called a crash chamber. And the crash chamber was legendary. That Tucker is very, very, very well known for that. So Stella's going cars. Stella has been deprived of her car recently. I don't know if she's got it back, but some youngsters made off with it, I guess. Or people. I don't know that they were young. The Wolf says, I would have loved that windshield instead of the one I shattered and still have pieces in my face. People saying hi to Stella. Stella's saying hi. I hope you did get your car back, by the way. Let's see here. There's a padded area in this car ahead of the passenger seat, and there's no obstructions. So the front seat passengers have this area that's designed to protect them completely in the event of an accident. The engine and the transmission were mounted by themselves on a separate subframe, and it was very easy to remove the drivetrain and lower it. Not like most cars. If anyone's had a transmission repair, that ain't easy. Well, the entire drivetrain could be removed from the Tucker, and it could be swapped in and swapped out in just 30 minutes. He had some other innovations that were now sort of abandoned. I'll tell you about that in a second, because I'm taking some shrapnel myself right now in the chat room. It says, it sounds like you paid some youngsters to take her car. And she's laughing. I would never do that. She's got things to do, places to go, people to see. So anyway, he had some other innovations that he wanted to incorporate, but sort of abandoned. Magnesium wheels, disc brakes, self-sealing tubeless tires, and a direct drive torque converter transmission. But those were all evaluated, tested, and then dropped because they were too expensive or too complex, or they just didn't have time and ability to develop them. The engine is something of a sticking point. He originally wanted a 589 cubic inch flat 6-cylinder engine. That's a lot of engine. You could get up to 200 miles an hour with that. And that engine ended up being just way too loud, way too much. 6 of the Tuckers, though, have that 589 in them. 6 of those engines were built. It was only installed at one of the prototypes. Radio Shaman, the imposter one, I think, says he's getting better at tucking it. I think the original Shaman's getting better at that. I could go into the premiere of the car. About 300 people showed up at a factory in Chicago for lunch, tour of the plant, and the unveiling. But man, oh man, did it not go well. Night before the premiere, 2 of the prototype's independent suspension arms snapped under the car's weight. The prototype was really heavy. It was much, 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 much heavier than all the other 48s that were produced. There were some minor engine problems, but that experimental 589 cubic inch engine was super loud. So Tucker had to have the band play really loud to drown out the noise. The high voltage starter needed outside power to get the engine started, so he had the team keep the engine running during the entire event so that nobody would see how much trouble they were having getting it started. And as the car was driven onto the platform, the liquid coolant boiled over and steam escaped from the car, but nobody seemed to notice it. And it wouldn't go backwards either. So, yeah. There was another setback when the steel that he needed, he tried to obtain bids to get these steel mills to provide the steel he needed for the cars, and that was rejected by the War Assets Administration under a shroud of sort of questionable politics. And he was running into this all over. The powers that be did not want him to make this car. Towns says definitely the real one. I don't know what that means. Jay Bizzle says hi. Hello, Jay Bizzle. How are you, my man? By the way, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all those free things you can do to support the show. And please, the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-seeing algorithm. We do have super chats. We do have memberships, and we love that because Daddy needs a new pair of shoes. And then get yourself a free gifted membership by turning them on. It tells how in the scroll at the bottom of the screen. He promised 150 horsepower, but that engine wasn't working out. Nope. After trying to make that 589 work for a year, he finally said, forget it. They tried an aircraft engine, but it wouldn't fit in the rear engine compartment. So he got some engines that might do it. One of them was called a Franklin engine, and it was majorly modified by the engineers at Tucker. Using an aircraft engine in a car is a big chore, so very few parts of the engines they were buying were actually used in the engine. And so what does he do? What's Tucker do? This guy he just didn't care what conventional wisdom was. Absolutely didn't care. Not a care in the world. He goes out and he buys Air-Cooled Motors, an engine building company, for $1.8 million, and then canceled all the aircraft contracts so that they could make just automotive engines. And that was a big deal because Air-Cooled Motors had 65% of the U.S.'s post-war aviation engine contracts And the loss of income there was substantial. He had a pre-selector manual transmission. I'm not going to get into it too much, but it was one of those sort of push button type deals. It was manual, but it wasn't a gear shift. That's probably enough to say about it. They tried a number of drives. And then again, this was part of that prototype deal that they were doing. But, you know, he had a problem. He kept doing things that, I don't want to say angered people, but he was doing so many unconventional things that he was drawing the attention of the big three automakers who had powerful friends in politics and who had favors owed to them because they basically said, we're going to quit making cars, we're going to make things for the war. So they were tied into the government heavily. And he had this thing called an accessories program. And that's how he raised funds to start selling and making these vehicles. Okay. After the war, the demand for new cars was far greater than dealers could supply. And there were giant waiting lists. Preference for these cars was given to returning veterans, which meant that non-veterans were bumped down the lists to indefinite status. You never knew when you were going to get one. Well, Tucker's accessories program allowed a buyer to purchase the accessories, and that guaranteed them a spot on the waiting list for the Tucker 48. And this concept was investigated by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and the United States Attorney and led to an indictment of company executives. Although all charges were dropped, the negative publicity destroyed the company and halted the production of the car. Now, the Wolf has mentioned that most of these still exist. Okay? And there's parts that were switched out, all sorts of crazy stories. In the early 50s, a Florida fairgrounds owner purchased over 10 Tuckers and parts and photos and documents, and he had a traveling display called the Fabulous Tuckers. And he hauled that stuff around for 10 years, displaying them everywhere. And his display highlighted the questionable way that Tucker was pretty much driven out of business. When the cars appear at auction, and that's rare, they get big money. In August of 2010, Tucker and by the way, these are numbered, 1045 sold for $1.127 million, while the Tucker 1043 went for $2.9 million at an auction in 2012. I have to imagine that they would be into the tens of millions at this point if they chose to sell them, or close to that. I'm not going to tell you about all the intact ones and all the changes that were made to some of them. Okay, I will tell you about the ones that aren't really intact. And the most famous one is Tucker 1018. And it was destroyed beyond repair after it broadsided a tree in New York. The remnants of the frame still exist. They're in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and some body panels are in Roscoe, Illinois, with the owner of Tucker number 1027. The engine and the transmission are in the AACA Museum in Hershey, Pennsylvania. The front-end sheet metal for 2018 was used to complete Tucker number 1052 in 2015. Another one, number 1023, was destroyed by a fire while in storage in DeLand, Florida, awaiting restoration. The remains were crushed in 1980 by its owner, a founder of the Tucker Automobile Club of America. Tucker number 1027 was rolled during testing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, home of the greatest spectacle in racing. Did I do that, Wolf? Did I do that properly? So they rolled it And chassis was sold at auction. Transmission removed at the factory. ACAA Museum used some body panels to repair another car. Others were lost or used in restoration of other Tuckers. Car was sold by the owner of the historic auto attractions, and its current location is parts unknown. The Tucker number 1035 is heavily modified. The guy just did a bunch of dumb stuff to it. Tucker number 1042 was destroyed. It was sold without an engine at the Tucker auction, and it was found abandoned along the banks of the Mississippi River after it had been hauled off by some warehouse rental guy. So there are a number of incomplete ones, but not many, like 10. They just need one thing, usually an engine. But the majority of these remain, and they are in absolutely pristine condition. Absolutely pristine condition. We do have some chats here. Let's see. Let's see. Turbine motor, correct. They tried a turbine motor that didn't take. Let's see here. Fanboys salutes. Oh, SG Fanboy, the living legend, is with us. So good to see you. We haven't seen you in a while. Very nice to see you. Jay Bizzle says Dodge, Ford, GM. Yes, the big three. Shalin says, Tommy, you turn me. I don't think we need to see any more of Shalin's comments. You turn me on like big three automakers. Again, it is the legend, SG. Terry Nee says, I've seen that in Hershey. He's been there. Hood by Chef. Getting busy tonight. Say goodbye, Gracie. Good night, Gracie. Terry Nee with $1 donation, shattering our goal every night of any amount of money. Terry, good to see you. Yes, Giant, you did it well. Goodbye, Chef. And Famboy. I don't know what that means. I just don't know what that means. As for Tucker himself, by the way, the turbine engine, yeah, there's probably one with the turbine engine in it. Like I said, almost everyone was a prototype. They just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. He had race cars. He had a combat car and a Tucker gun turret, as the Wolf is talking about. He had an aviation corporation. The Tucker Corporation, obviously, and the 48 sedan. Now, and he actually had an export corporation set up. He wanted to sell these around the world. The thing that really hurt him, and this is one of many things that hurt him, that were not of his doing at all. The Security and Exchange Commission got really mad because a very small automaker called Kaiser Frazer was given millions and millions and millions of dollars in government grants to develop a new car, and they squandered all the money. Now, Tucker didn't take a dime from the federal government, but these small upstart companies, because of Kaiser Frazer, were under huge scrutiny from the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, not the football conference. So he did the accessories program. They hated that, okay? His chairman resigned because of all the pressure. It was a mess. Popular journalist by the name of Drew Pearson criticized the Tucker 48, calling it the Tin Goose. And then they had a big trial. And Tucker surrendered all of his records, 100% of his records, to the SEC and United States attorney. They paneled the grand jury, and a federal judge handed control of the Tucker Corporation over to some sort of caretakers. Tucker and 6 other execs were indicted on 25 counts of mail fraud, 5 counts of violations of SEC regulations, 1 count of conspiracy to defraud. And these guys, I'm telling you, these dudes that he got to work with him, he didn't go out and just get Joe Schmo to work with him on the development of this car. Let me find out where I've got these guys' names cloistered away here in this. Daggone it. Where the heck did I put that list? These were some of the biggest people in automaking that lived. He got the absolute cream of the crop, top of the heap, number one people. And I bet you I'm not going to be able to find them now. Daggone it, I had them specifically set aside so I could... well, I have their names here, but they were from Borg Warner. They were from Ford. They were from the highest echelons of every corporation that was out there. So they have this big trial, and at the trial, the government contends he didn't even intend to make one car. The vice president comes and says, we're ready to mass produce the car by June. And then went through the outside interference that had slowed down these productions, much of which was from the government. And the defense was like, you're just mad at Kaiser Frazier. And here's what they were doing. Here's what we're doing. So, the tide turned in Tucker's favor when the government called in its final witness, their final witness, not Tucker's, their final witness, SEC accountant Joseph Turnbull, who testified that Tucker had taken in $28 million, spent less than 1/7 of it on research and development of the car. Well, that doesn't sound like he's squandering any money. Yeah, and in the closing witness testimony, this guy was asked, you're not here suggesting these figures are figures of monies that are taken in fraudulently, are you? And he said, well, no. Well, okay, there's your case. The Tucker attorneys didn't call anybody to the stand. They just went, it's impossible to prevent a defense when there's been no offense. So, it was an impassioned plea for the government to not, pick on this guy. And guess what? After 28 hours of deliberations, the jury returned a verdict of not guilty on all counts for everyone accused. And Tucker had won the trial, but the Tucker Corporation, now without a factory, because one of the conditions of the factory leasing, biggest factory in the world, it was a giant car production plant in Chicago, biggest factory warehouse in the world. You had to be producing cars in order to lease it, and they weren't because of the trial. He was buried in debt and faced with numerous lawsuits. There goes the Tucker Corporation. A lot of speculation as to who and why and everything else, but it doesn't really matter. In the end, he was effectively put out of business. So you would think that this guy here, Tucker, would be beaten down, demoralized. He's not going on any further. Wrong. His reputation actually rebounded after the acquittal, and he had huge amounts of optimism. He said Edwin Henry Ford failed the first time out. The Tucker Corporation assets were auctioned off publicly in Chicago. One of the remaining Tucker 48 cars was given to Preston Tucker, another to his mother. And in the early 50s, he teamed up with investors from Brazil to build a sports car called the Carioca. He couldn't use the Tucker name for the car. A guy from Dun & Bradstreet had purchased the rights to the name. Had to be worth something, right? And his traveling to Brazil and doing all this stuff started to fatigue him. Upon his return to the United States, he was just fatigued, couldn't do anything, diagnosed with lung cancer. And so he died from pneumonia as a complication of lung cancer in 1956 at the age of 53. He's buried in Flat Rock, Michigan. I could tell you about, all of the legacies of this. A group of investors in 1954 tried to revive the Tucker Company. Didn't work out. They couldn't get enough support. Tucker's defense attorney became chairman of the board of a giant philanthropic corporation. The U.S. attorney who had aggressively pursued the Tucker Corporation later convicted on 17 counts of bribery, conspiracy, and perjury in related charge for stock fraud. Yes, he's the first appellate court judge in U.S. history to be jailed. This is Preston Tucker sort of getting his vindication here. The location of the former Tucker Corporation became the corporate headquarters of Tootsie Roll Industries. Yes, and the Ford City Mall. The building was owned by Ford for a time. The building was so large it was divided in two. So there you are. Tucker's design concepts for the Tucker 48 included revolutionary ideas in car safety that helped formulate car safety standards. The Tucker family held on to air-cooled motors until 1961 when they sold it. The remaining Tucker 48 cars, as I mentioned, are highly collectible, and the ones in good condition, they get up to $3 million apiece. Original stock certificates for the Tucker Corporation are valuable to collectors and are worth more than when they were actually issued. Over 10,000 of these were personally signed by Preston Tucker himself, making them most desirable. Let's catch up on your comments, and then we'll open up the phone lines, and everybody can have a fun time. Let's see. I think he secretly wanted to be Howard Hughes. Maybe. I don't know. There did worse things to be back then. Now, later, being Howard Hughes would become a disgusting, creepy thing, but not at this point. Terry Neese says, fanboy, don't be so literal. My English major friend is the same way. Fanboy. Okay. Well, it's just, Terry, that the kids say fam a lot. How you doing, fam? Meaning family. So, no offense, but I'm straightening it up for the kids here every night. You know why, Terry? Because I got that Riz. That's why. Figure it out on the fly, young man. I was trying to, but I figured since I had you here, who is better? Who knows you better than you? I know your wife will say that she does. Funky Bronco says, that is a very sexy car. It's a really beautiful, beautiful car. There we go. Hey, Funky, I love you, Wolfie. Okay. All right, man. H2BH myself. Hey, Jared, I can't even get into Discord. I open Discord and it just downloads an update every time I open it and then closes. Yeah. Thanks, Discord. So you may not see me in there for a while or ever. Who knows? I literally can't get in there. To know me, yeah, the wolf, to know him is to love him. Sorry I'm late. Jared, nobody's ever late to the Tom Gully Show. If history has proven anything, that's what history has proven. All right, let me open this up. Let me look at that stupid little Discord eyeball spinning in a circle, not letting me in. And then tells me there's a JavaScript error one time. I'm like, Mac hasn't supported Java for like 3 years. What application do you use that every time you open it, it has to download 6 updates? It's like I opened this yesterday and it had 6. And now today, 6 more? Really? I don't get it. I just don't get it. Let's get rid of Preston Tucker. Oh, yeah, behind me, by the way, is one of those original sketches I was telling you about. So, yeah, it's behind me. It's a sketch. Yeah, let me show you the sketch. It's a hell of a sketch. Rumpled says, a beauty of a car. Hold on. Look at that sucker. It's a hell of a car. Sorry for my language. I'd love to have seen it made. Well, I highly recommend the movie. Francis Ford Coppola directed it. What's it called? Tucker, A Man in His Dream or something like that. Jeff Bridges Young Jeff Bridges. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's worth watching. And you get to see how he just kept rolling with the punches, man. Just kept rolling with the punches. Rolling with the punch. It's not the same without the finger snap. The Wolf says they are only the cutting edge of technology. It always requires many updates every day. Every day? No, that's not the way software is developed. You do it in stages. If you're making updates every day, you shouldn't have released that day before. You should do it on a monthly basis or not every single day. That's not how you develop software. The movie was excellent. Yes, excellent movie. Every day, you have to get feedback on the update. Why doesn't Windows or Apple release a new operating system update every single day? Because they make the release, and then they gather the QC from the release, and they implement the changes. Oh, it was a joke. Sorry. I may have overreacted. I'm sorry, folks. If nobody else is going to be entertained by this show, I am going to be. By my own ineptitude. 972-994-6822 is the number to call. Our phone lines are open. I don't know how long they'll remain open today. I've got a big project I have to work on, probably all night tonight, and I'm tired right now. I could sleep for 3 days right this minute. And Discord didn't help. Uh-oh. Look out here. Terry Nee, who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I apologize for this in advance, I did not give Terry the point. Terry, thank you for the $1. You, my man, get the point for that. There you go. Drink it in for a second. All right. It's gone now. It's gone now. Sorry. Terry Nee says, I met one of the original JavaScript programmers. They gave up their huge Texas estate for a little fishing village in Florida, Goodland, Florida. Marco Island. Well, that's pretty cool, except for leaving Texas for Florida. Hope you like the hurricane. Hope you enjoy the hurricane. You know, last night's show was almost 4 hours. As you guys know, I don't eat before the show. I swear to you. I made so much food. 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm still eating. And I didn't get a day off. It was just every day this week, show. Last week, show. By the way, tomorrow night, Get Smart. Ought to be a great show about a great show. And then Wednesday night, the horrifying vampire fish that swims up into your private parts and drains you of your blood. So imagine you're snorkeling in some warm water area, and all of a sudden, the forbidden hello, swims up into your dude waver and starts draining you of your lifeblood. And guess what else? It's got fins that prevent it from being pulled backwards out. It has to be surgically removed. Surgically removed. The Spanish, the Spanish called it Goodland, Marco Naples, because it was rarely hit by hurricanes. Well, Terry, guess what? I lived in Naples, Florida, and I want to say it was Hurricane Charlie did quite a number on us. It was actually when I was moving back to Dallas, and I do this thing. I won't haul a car behind a U-Haul. I just won't do it. So what I do is I drive the U-Haul to where I'm going, and I outfit the apartment, move in, and a week later, I fly back, and I drive the car. Because the car drive back just seems like a breeze after driving this stupid U-Haul. I left. The hurricane happened. In fact, the hurricane was chasing me all the way across. I think it was Charlie. And I'm not sure. I had this conversation with somebody else. And when I got back, my bank was like a giant pile of rubble. It was not even like the base or the foundation or anything. No, it was just giant mound of rubble. So the Spanish were wrong. No, I'm kidding. It probably rarely does get hit there on the Gulf side, but when I lived in Tampa, I lived right inside the bay. Now, there's a place, the bay really protects them from a lot of hurricane stuff, but ain't no absolute protection. That I can tell you. The Wolf and I grew up where there's a lot of tornadoes. The Wolf and I were there for the super outbreak of 1974, which we've already covered on this program, but we were around for a lot of the tornadoes, which is what old men in Indiana called tornadoes when I was growing up. And one of my friends who was in Monticello, Indiana, which was darn near wiped off the map, he was working at a gas station, and an old man drove into the service bay and said, "Tornado!" So they dove down into the thing. Let's see here. Tierney says, "Were you ever at Stan's in Goodland, Florida?" No, the only Stan that I know is Stanley Cross, host of Stanley versus the World at the Urban Landlord on YouTube. Look for it around 2 in the morning. Eastern. I've never been to Goodland, to my knowledge. I mean, I just went up and down the highway. I was, Bonita Springs, Fort Myers, Naples. I would take Alligator Alley across to Miami. That I would do. But none of the other stuff. But thank you for asking. And just for asking, I'm giving you the point again. Yes. And the Wolf, for surviving the super outbreak of 1974, you also get the point. That's right. And Jared, you get the point just for being such a great guy. And the chef's gone, or I'd give, SG Fanboy, you get the point, and no Tom Gully in the background. Yeah, SG Fanboy. We love him around here. So you get the point. And Stella, for losing your car and getting a rental that you like to drive much better, you get the point. I love how get the point is a double entendre. Let's see. Goodland was at the bridge exiting Marco Island on the southern side. Oh. Well, then I have been there. Boy, did they ever get that bridge rebuilt, the Marco Island Bridge. That thing was, it was not a super skinny wood rails. If you looked at it from the ground, you could see it was just decaying. And that bridge does not get the point. I'm sorry. But I do like how that's a double entendre. Jay Bizzle, for you being here tonight, buddy, you get the point. That's right. That's right. Oh, Rumpled Trenchcoat. Of course, you always get the point. Yeah, Rumpled Trenchcoat gets the point. It was great. It's a nice place down there. Had some bad weather 2 years ago hit that place, but yes. Rumpled Trenchcoat gets the point. His sister gets the point. Everybody gets the point. Everybody gets the point. You get a point. And you get a point. Tim Jenkinson, for living in England, you get the point. Yes. Radio Shaman, the fake one, you get the point. Radio Shaman, the real one, does not get the point. Sorry. I'm sorry. Coach Mike Rodick, you also get the point. Preston Tucker, you get the point. Without Tom Gully in the background, that's like the most elite version of the point that you can get, is that one right there. Actually, the most elite doesn't have the crawl at the bottom, but Let's just say we've got $1 in donations tonight. I don't think anybody's getting that one. All righty. Well, we're at the top of the hour. I think it's just about time to close things down around here. I don't know what you guys think, but that's what I think. And that way, that'll give me time to do this project. And with dark shadows in the background. And get ready for tomorrow night's show. I can't tell you how excited I am about Get Smart. It's a very funny show. It ought to be really good. It ought to be great. And then we got to have a nice, lighthearted show on Tuesday, because Wednesday we're doing the horrifying, and I mean horrifying, vampire fish, which could swim up your private parts. The Wolf says he sure is getting loose with that point. Yes. Oh, Terry Nee says, I've gone there since the 60s as a Ute. Well, that's cool. I lived on Airport Pulling Road there, right across from a amusement park. I love Get Smart. Can't wait. Missed it by that much. We hoped for a bunch of donations, but I missed it by that much. I might bring a shoe phone tomorrow. I don't know. Cone of silence. All righty, kids. Hey, man, thanks for spending your Monday night with us. I hope if you are interested in the Super Bowl that your team is in it, or you're going to support one that wins. You got 2 weeks for everybody to debate back and forth endlessly about what I consider to be an inconsequential sporting event to most of the world. Meanwhile, Arsenal had a player sent off, and it's the scandal of England right now for nothing. He didn't do it hardly any. It would be a yellow card, but it was straight red. Bam. And so now that referee is, well, anyway, you don't care. So anyway, with all of that being said, that old clock on the wall says that, like the Reverend Al Green, it's time for me to get on up out of here. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And I think that means there's only one left. Talking other words. I think that means there's only one thing left to say, and that is, till next time, we'll see you next time.
I don't wanna talk about that.
Bye.